All right, so this is the part of the conversation where I like to talk about the numbers and how we get to them. So the first thing that you need to know is if you're leasing out a house, we want to be able to compare what's happening in the neighborhood. So what's already been leased out versus what is the current competition for people that are also leasing something out. And many of these are going to be single family homes. And so in this case, it's no different. So the property I'm referring to is 8800 Chrysler Bend in Austin, Texas. It is a 5-bedroom, 3-bath home, 2,400 square feet. So now let's see how this goes. So what I did, I'm going to showcase this first, and I put in the address, and basically that says in a map radius within 1 mile, what are we able to get? So I also checked the boxes here over to the left. You can see active, under contract, pending, and closed. This is referring to a lease though, not for sale. This is specifically for a lease. This number here is referring to how many days has it been closed. So what's closed in the last month specifically, and then what type of property? Single family residential. I'm not putting in bedrooms or bathrooms or anything like that yet, and I'll explain why. First things I want to do is look at down at the bottom. It says there are 18 matches. Kind of interesting. Let me go look at the map. Okay, so basically if somebody's looking to live in Easton Park, these are the options near this particular house, but that's not all of Easton Park. So now I'm going to go back and say, all right, there's more to Easton Park than this. I can either expand it this way and add in a few more, but then that's the problem because I get a couple in McKinney Park. It's not the same. The amenities aren't the same. The neighborhood isn't the same. So I want to go back and get really tight-knit about specifically being in Easton Park. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on one of these homes in Easton Park, and I want to double check what they call it. And so there aren't any phases here. Oh yeah, they do. See, they have phases and sections. Forget all that. I just want to show that there are. So I'm going to clear this, and I'm just going to type Easton Park for the subdivision. Okay. And why didn't I start with that? The reason why I didn't start with that is because sometimes the radius matters more than the neighborhood. So here's an example. If somebody's looking to lease a house, they just want to be in the area. They don't actually care as long as it's X distance from work and it's the right number of bedrooms and bathrooms for the family. Sometimes they'll just go for that. What I'm saying is the people that are looking for Easton Park are looking for Easton Park in most cases. They're not looking for McKinney Park or McKinney Falls area or the crossing at the falls or any of these other neighborhoods, because Easton Park is a style. It's a vibe, right? Okay, so I'm specifically going to Easton Park. I'm going to this doesn't matter anymore, but I'm going to double check that. So we have 20 matches now. I might open it up to, let's say 35. See if I get a few more. It gave me one more. Let me go to 45. Okay? And this just gives me a few more data points to play with. So we've got 23 matches in the last month and a half. You know, this year, right? About January 15th is when people get back into it after the holidays and after New Year. Now they're like, okay, I really need to find a place because my job is moving or kids or whatever reason. Okay, so now I'm going to go look at the map, make sure I got all of Easton Park. So these are all the properties in the last 45 days that have been closed, and then a few that are still pending and active. And so this green here is showing our competition. Yellow means someone leased it. We just don't know for sure if that's the price. So here's a great example, $3,850. It's a 4-bedroom, 4-bath. It's pending, which means they could back out at any point. It also means that they could have offered more or less than that price. We won't know until it's actually closed. And then closed means they actually got this 3,100 square foot home, 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom home, and are spending $3,100 a month for it. Remember, these are all just leases. So now I'm going to go to results, and this is where it gets real fun. Okay, in the results, I'm going to go to agent single line, and this now breaks it up like this, and this gives me my true data points. So I'm going to move my face over to the side here. Now, as I'm looking at this, I'm going to read through the columns just so you can understand how these work out, and then I'll talk about I'll talk about how they play into the conversation. So let's start with this is status. So this is active. So the first 11 are A, which means they are active on the market. This is active competition. P means it's pending, and that means that they have accepted a lease, but the people have not moved in yet. The lease hasn't been ratified. and something can change along the way, and they may have offered a different price. And then the bottom is closed, which means this is the data that actually matters more than anything, because we know that these people paid this for these houses. The problem with the closed is that all of them are 3 bedrooms, and I know this is a 5 bedroom that we're looking at, right? So we might have to adjust the numbers. Actually, I see that there's 3 more up at the top. So what I'll want to do is I can change the number per line. So here we go. Now I've got a few more. Still 3 bedrooms and a couple 4 bedrooms. But that gives us a few more numbers to play with. Okay, so that's our status. Remember, active competition, pending, and then actually closed, which gives us our real true values. Forget the area, the address is obviously relevant so you can know where it is. First thing I'm going to point out is like number 1 is actually a condo, which usually means it just has a smaller yard, but we're not even seeing the yard size on here. If I needed to open that up, I could, but right now it's not really relevant. But what is relevant is that being a condo and it being smaller, it's a 2 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,400 square foot. Wow. Okay, so next, let's go into number of beds. Right here, this is number of bedrooms, number of full bathrooms, number of half bathrooms. And so if it's, like I'll use this 7105 Silver Star, for example, it's a 2.5 bathroom, which is different than a 2 bathroom, right? There's another one for downstairs, or, usually that's how it works. If all the bedrooms are upstairs, they always have to have a bathroom or half bath downstairs so people don't have to run upstairs to use the restroom. Next is the number of levels. So 2-story versus single story. That's paramount for older people or younger people that don't want to deal with stairs. If somebody's 75 years old and they just want to live in Easton Park because they want to feel young again, doesn't matter. They're not going to get a 2-story home, especially if the primary bedroom is upstairs. They're just not going to do it. So it reduces our pool of pool of potential tenants drastically, by half-ish, right? Okay, so next is year built, which it doesn't matter a whole lot until you're starting to get into like 2010 or before. If you're trying to rent out something that's a 1999, first it's not going to be in this neighborhood. There's this one here. This one's a 2015. That's actually a little bit older than I would have anticipated, but it's still within the 10 years, so I wouldn't matter too much. And most people who are leasing, they just want a nice place. They don't actually care about the date because it's not their home that they're buying. Okay. Next is the square footage. So we can see that pretty clearly. Then it's the lease price, what we've listed it at. Doesn't mean we'll get it, but this is what we've listed it at. Next is the lease price per square foot. Okay, so like a great example is this Laughlin here is 2,800 square feet. The lease price is 2,800. It's 1962 square feet, which means that gives us a lease price per square foot of $1.43. Next, which is right next to it, is closed price per square foot. So I'm going to jump all the way down to, they're all exact. It's actually pretty rare that this happens, but they're all exact. So I'm going to use Cardinal Bloom Loop, for example. It was the lease price per square foot is $1.36. When they closed, it was $1.36. But I'm looking at this in Easton Park. It seems like all of them are closing at where they leased it at, which is good because we can assume, based on that information, that all of these pendings are also going to do that. So this person leased it at $37.99, which is $1.29 a square foot. We can safely assume, based on the historical data, that they actually got it for that price, and it's $1.29 a square foot. So this helps our averages when we're looking at what we're going to list ours at. Next is the lease close price, which we've already talked about, and then close date. Now this is relevant because it shows what day it closed, which means you can back into it. Most people put their lease on the market about 30 days before to try to get a tenant in. So that means they started this right after Christmas, day after Christmas, most likely. And actually, I'm gonna talk about these other 2 columns, then I'm gonna come back to it. Days on market, how many days it's been active, or in this case, how many days it was active before it went under contract. And the next one is cumulative days on market. So here's a great example. Okay, this one right here, B-Stride. It's probably a builder home because it was leased out in 5 days, but there's almost a year cumulative days on market. This skews our data tremendously because it was probably a builder that had a model home that said, I'm going to rent it out to somebody for a year or something like that, and we're just going to put it up for lease and let somebody get it. And then when they get it, that's how we have this skew in numbers. So I don't pay attention to things that are that I mean, I'll look at them, but generally we want to strike those from the record unless it just falls in line with all the other stuff. I don't want to consider that as a date because that's an anomaly. Anyway, so coming back to this, we're looking at the close date. So Van Ness is a great example. It's January. It took them 6 days before someone came in and said, I want to lease it. The one above it, Cardinal Bloom, took 2 months. Okay? A month and a half, 2 months before it finally went. And why is that? Don't know. It's a larger home. It's a really reasonable price per square foot. It could have just been when they leased it, which was around Christmas time, right? Or just after. So because of that time, that could be why it's sitting a little bit longer. Or because of the home itself, right? We haven't looked at it yet, but it's a 2015. Maybe that does play into it. Maybe it's ugly on the inside. Let's take a look while we're sitting here. It's a 3-car garage. Immediately I would say, oh, that'd go a little bit faster, but let's look at more stuff because that's not the only answer, okay? Kind of a weird entry. It is yellow. Wow. Now, it could be yellow or it could be bad photos, which also play a role, right? It could also be, and this sounds ridiculous, but people will not move into a place because they see stuff like this. It's absurd to me, but I'm not the person leasing it, so I get it, right? The fact that there's dark carpet and dark floors and a yellowish hue might turn people off, but if they go into the house and it doesn't feel bright, oftentimes they're going to say no. Even if it's, if someone loves the way the house is, not everybody fits that. The kitchen is kind of a unique shape, having the table right here by the entry or the exit. It's kind of strange in my opinion, but I don't see that being a reason why somebody wouldn't get it. I think the darker carpets it's a little frustrating in this scenario. That could have been a part. There's no bathtub in the primary bedroom. For whatever reason, even though people rarely use it, there's huge complaints about that. Oh, don't have a bathroom, can't do it. Like, okay, you weren't going to use it anyway. A little bit of loft area upstairs. Okay, I don't know what this is this built in? All right, that's something. That is definitely a feature that not everybody's going to love. The bedroom is a little bit misshapen, so I can see why it would sit a little bit longer. Does this not have a door? I see a door. I don't think the door closes here. So is this the bathroom and it's just kind of around the corner? That's weird. Yeah, like I wouldn't do that. If my wife, I don't care how long we've been together, I would not want to share an open toilet with her. And then the yard is strange, right? It's a large yard, but what is everybody going to sit right here and look at the fence? You see? So I can see why this is sitting a little bit longer. All right, it is a nice 3-car garage. It does have the same amenities and all that sort of stuff. It's just an odd shape of the floor plan. It's the floor plan that's a little strange. So that's my opinion on why this is sat a little bit longer. Let's go back, agent single line. Now let's take this information and I'm going to extract it for things that are absolutely closer to the subject home, which is a 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom house. So I'm going to go 5-bedroom and I'm going to do 3 baths. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to touch square footage yet unless it becomes a problem. We have 0 matches so far. So now I'm going to go into 75 days, see if we get a few. We've got 4 matches. Oh, we lost them. How did we lose them? Okay, let's do 100 and let's do 175. I'm just going to do that in there. Okay, so I don't have anything, so I'm going to do 2 to 3 bathrooms and I'm going to do 4 to 5 bedrooms and see if that gives me something. That gives me 9. So that helped a little bit. I'm going to dial it down because last year and this year are very different. So I'm going to just do 75 and see if it still gives me a good amount of numbers. 5 matches. I like that better because it's closer in range. We want to stick with stuff like last summer and today are very different times with people wanting to lease something. So this gives us a little bit of range, just a little bit. And let's see where these are. That's another factor on the map. Some people might prefer to be closer to Onion Creek, right? And even if it's in the same neighborhood, they're going to look at it like, oh, I could just walk into Onion Creek with my puppies. Okay, that's a very different thing than being over here off of this road, right? Off of Apogee. So that could be a consideration. Generally tenants don't put that level of thought into it. Buyers do, but some tenants will. All right, so now I'm going to look at the results, jump into this, and we've got a little more information. So closed, these are both 4 bedrooms. which we knew, 2,200. Okay, so they're smaller. Now let's look at price per square foot. So we're at 144, 138. So immediately I'm thinking if we're talking like 141 a square foot would be solid. However, one caveat we haven't discussed is that generally larger homes go for less price per square foot. Generally. That's with all things being equal. In this case, this home, this 8800 Chrysler, has solar, Tesla Powerwalls, and it can save money, and multiple chargers. So it can save money for the tenants. So because of that, I think we could get away with a slightly higher price per square foot than normal. Okay? So if we're looking at it right now with, let's say 141 as an average price per square foot, that's given us a few months on the market. You see? So one's 150 days, the other one's 65 days on the market before somebody said yes to the address. So if we want to be more aggressive, we have to drop the closed price, the price per square foot. Okay? So if we keep it at this, which we could because we have the advantages, we could probably even go a little bit higher. Here's where it gets challenging. We have to market to the people that are looking for that sort of thing. Hey, do you want a home that will save you on energy bills, is perfect for people with electric vehicles, and is in a high, what would I call it? Like a stylish vibe neighborhood. Like I gotta massage those words a little bit. But my point is, if we do that, we pump out some videos, which is rare for leases, but I could see that making sense here. Hey, we've got this perfect lease in Easton Park. Here's why it matters for a lot of people. And then we go through all of the features, like we're real close to McKinney Falls. We've got multiple EV chargers. So if you're a Tesla family, this could be perfect for you. We also have the power walls and the solar panels to make sure that your electric bill stays low and affordable while you're charging your Tesla vehicles. Like, we're looking for a specific type of person in that case, but they'd be willing to pay a little bit more. So all that to say, I think even maybe 1.5 a square foot, and that might be bold, Cotton. That might be a little bold, but 1.5, $1.05 a square foot. $1.50 a square foot might be the launch price, knowing if we're comfortable with it being a little bit of time before the right buyer, the right tenant says yes. So, based on that information, I want you to dissect, understand, run some numbers, and evaluate in your mind, if you were going to lease this out, what makes sense to you, right? What makes sense for pricing? What makes sense with what features you would be interested in? And like sell this to yourself. It's different when you're building it because you already knew the floor plan. You already knew that this was going to be a long-term investment for yourself. But this is different. We're talking about somebody who's basically renting an apartment. They're not renting an apartment because they want a yard and they want to be in a fun neighborhood. And maybe they just had a kid, but they don't have the down payment for the home. Or maybe they've relocated here and they don't want to commit to a neighborhood. They just want to see if they like this neighborhood before they buy in this neighborhood. That's the type of person that we're looking for. Maybe they work for Tesla. Maybe they just really like Teslas. Maybe they just like electric vehicles. Maybe they have a Ford Mustang, the Mach-E, and don't have anything for Tesla, but they understand the value of having an electric vehicle on a grid where they can save money on the electric bill too. So all of those things end up being part of the conversation. So I want you to evaluate this from that perspective, and then let's have a conversation about it. So hopefully that helped out. I'm Ian of Austin. If you haven't seen any other videos on my channel, please feel free to watch, and you can always see this, more homes, and have a conversation with me at ianofAustin.com. Thank you so much for listening. And hopefully this was very helpful. See you in the next video.